Today, this is Mrs. Mallet, and today we're going to talk about adding and subtracting without a common denominator. So the same thing I kind of showed you what to do with a fraction. Okay, if I wanted us to add 2/3 plus 4/5, how would we do that? Well, we figure out, some of us, and I'm included, multiply 3 times 5, and so your common denominator would be 15, and then you go on from there. Which you can do that, but when you actually have more than just numbers, when you have x's and x plus 1s and all that stuff, but it gets a little bit more complicated, you kind of can't do it that way. So hopefully this video will kind of help you get your what you need to be thinking about when it comes to doing these. Okay, so when you look at this, look at your denominator, and we're trying to figure out 2x and 3x. What can that go into? Well, both of those can go into 6x. Okay, so you can have your common denominator be 6x. So we just found our common denominator. Now I ask myself, how do we get there? How do we get from 2x to 3x? Well, we multiply the 2x times 3, correct? Right? So 4 times 3 is 12, okay? And so what about this one? How did I get from 3x to 6x? I multiplied this times 2. What I do on the bottom, I have to do up top. So 9 times 2 is 18. Right. Now we can add these like we learned in the last video. 12 plus 18 is 30 over 6x. Now I can reduce this because what is 30 divided by 6? It's 5. So now this will be 5 over x as my final answer. Not 5x. People assume it's 5x. Your x is on the bottom. It's going to have to stay on the bottom. Okay? So the hardest part for this is finding what your common denominator is and then trying to find what's called your equivalent fraction. And that's what we just did. I have this one. Once again, D and 5. Okay, what can those both go into? Well, they can go into 5D. B can go into 5D and 5 can go into 5D. A good rule of thumb, because I bet you're wondering, well, how is she figuring these out? A good rule of thumb is you can multiply them together, but when they get a little bit more complicated, you kind of don't want to do that. You want to kind of see what can they go into. And factor it out if it's not factored already. Okay, so I have something over 5D minus something over 5D. Let's figure out what goes on top. D times what is 5D? 5, right. Which means I have to multiply 4C times 5. 4C times 5 is 20C. 5 times D is 5D, so I have to multiply the top times D. 8D times D is 8D squared. Now notice, now we have our common denominator, so now we can keep going. However, I can't combine those like terms on the top. So I have 20C minus 8D squared over 5D. And that right there is my final answer. I can't simplify that down any further. I can't do anything with it. So I just leave it like that. Okay, another example here. I have this one. Once again, what's my common denominator? In this case, I have two separate terms. So now what can my common denominator be? Smash them together. Marry them. Put them together. So my common denominator would be something over 4x and x minus 2. Okay, same thing on this side, 4x times x minus 2. So how did I get from here to here? I've times this times x minus 2. So I have to do the top, multiply that times x minus 2. Okay, so 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times 2 is minus 6. How did I get from here to here? I times this by 4x, so I have to times that by 4x. Okay, 8 times 4x is 32x. Now you can combine your like terms because you have 3x plus 32x is 35x's, and I still have my minus 6 down here all over my common denominator of 4x times x minus 2. Okay, that would be my final answer. In this case, you can put together your denominators. Last but not least, I have this one here. Now remember I told you how these were off by opposites by -1? So if I multiply this times -1, I'm able to change my sign. So I have 6 over x minus 5. -7 times -1 is now a positive 7 over x minus 5. When you bring the -1 out, you can that's the same thing. Remember I said they're off by -1 in my simplifying rational expressions video. So that is enabling you to be able to change your signs like we did here. And now you can add these. So 6 plus 7 is 13 over x minus 5. What you need to do first is try to figure out what can they both go into, put those together, and then figure out how did I get from here to here, and then do the same thing on top. We just added and subtracted with